an email anyways.
Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Are we live? Let's have a little look. You should be. Good afternoon, one and all. I'll give it a minute to get everybody in. There we go. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Is all well in the world? Just put in the comments for me if you can see me. Put in the comments if you can hear me. Let me know that I'm not speaking to an empty room. That's super helpful. And then we can get into it. Day 2. How exciting. It's been a good day today. I spoke to loads of you on WhatsApp again, which has been fab. If I've not had a chance to reply to you on WhatsApp, don't panic. I just not had a chance, but I will reply to your messages. Good evening, Julie. Good evening, Shireen. How are we doing? So we're just going to give it a minute or two to get everybody in. I think most people joined by about 3 or 4 minutes past last night. So people will be looking for the links and doing all the things. So while we're waiting for those people, how have you found today? Money mindset. How's everyone's day been? Have you enjoyed today? Have you found today interesting, insightful? Has it helped you think about things a little bit differently? Just chat to me in the chat box. Tell me, how have you found today? Has it been a good day? Has it made you ponder things slightly differently? You've got this, you've had your money mindset questionnaire today. So we're really interested to know, how have you found this activity? If you've not done it yet, let me know in the chat. If you've done it, how was it? Was it tough? Was it challenging? Was it easy? Did you breeze through it? No problems? Let me know. So a couple of you saying it was a bit challenging. Okay, fair enough. I think sometimes with thinking about your money story, it can be a little bit difficult because you're reflecting on what is essentially quite close stuff and sometimes quite deep stuff as well. I know for me, like understanding my money mindset and my money mindset type, it helped me loads, but to get to the understanding of it was a bit of an interesting journey, right? So WhatsApp, hopefully most of you have had a WhatsApp link for me today with the task on. If you haven't, I know for some reason WhatsApp just isn't playing ball this week, which is a real pain in my bum because we're running the whole event this week via WhatsApp. If you haven't had a WhatsApp from me on any of the days, if you just WhatsApp, because you will have had a WhatsApp from me at the point you registered, you know, you will have had something. If for any reason you haven't had a WhatsApp by about 10 in the morning, just send me a message on WhatsApp and let me know, and I can send you the link like as a one-on-one. I don't really know why WhatsApp, it's like distributing at random times. It's all supposed to go out at the same time every morning. So I apologize for that because it's not as slick as I would like it to be. But yeah, we obviously can still get you the link. You just need to WhatsApp me and let me know. So a few of you found today interesting. There's been a few different realizations, a bit thought-provoking. Some of you found bits of it difficult. Yeah, I mean, it is a bit difficult. It is really about getting quite into the inner workings of our mind and thinking about how our brain is actually impacting the way that we behave around money, with money, you know, what we do with it, how we treat it, you know, how we feel about it, the emotions that it brings up. It's quite important stuff. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to do a couple of little reminders. The VIP, we're running a session tomorrow. The first session tomorrow? Wednesday? Yeah. Tomorrow, yeah. So a session tomorrow on Wednesday and a session on Thursday. You can upgrade still tonight, but we'll switch that off in the morning because actually we want to make sure that everybody that's booked in for the VIPs tomorrow has got all of the links and everything in the morning. So your last opportunity to upgrade to the VIP and get access to the extra resources and also the extra training sessions is really tomorrow morning. I imagine by the time Shamila gets in and does it, it's going to be like 10:30. So if you've not done it tonight, make sure you do it in the morning if you're going to upgrade. I'd really recommend upgrading because those additional resources are just a little bit more helpful. But the 2 sessions that we do, one's going to be, I'm going to actually do a tutorial on how to use the budget tracker that I use, the budget tracker that you guys that have got the book, you've got access to to be able to get it through the book. The budget tracker that we use is it's brilliant. And it's got, if you're a visual person like me, it's got the charts, it's got the pie charts, it's got the, you set your targets. It's got like a very visual way of helping you to manage your money. So that session is I'm going to show you how to use that and how to manage your money using that. So that will be really helpful. And then, especially if you're not someone that's ever done a budget, I don't remember when I first did mine, I was like, I don't really know how to do a budget. So, where do you even start with it? That's what that session is about tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we're going to be doing like a deep dive Q&A where you'll just be able to ask me anything you want about what you've learned in the boot camp, what you've learned maybe in the book, your personal circumstances, something like whatever you want to talk about, we can dig into it. So your last chance to upgrade to that is tomorrow morning, tonight officially, but actually by the time we get in and change it, it will be tomorrow morning, probably about 10:30ish. So don't forget to do that. It's £50 to upgrade. Also, the social media competition. I've been tagged in a load of stuff today, which is amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. I can see that the posts are coming up, which is fab. Just a little reminder to those of you that didn't hear last night, we're running a social media competition, and up for grabs is 2 tickets to our event in Milton Keynes on the 22nd of March, which is called Money Mechanics Live. And it's a whole day working on preparing you to invest. That day, the tickets are £650 plus VAT. So you're going to get 2 tickets to that. And you'll get like the full VIP access. You'll get the lunch with me. You'll get all the things. So be posting on your social medias. And I need you to use the hashtag, I'm a money mechanic. So we're going to be online looking for that hashtag, I'm a money mechanic. And we will pick a winner on Friday. Well, we'll announce that winner on Friday. Every post you put up over the week will count as an entry. So don't just stop at one. Let's share so that we can spread the money mechanics message far and wide. Okay, so I've also had a couple of messages today about a couple of other things. One is my podcast. So yes, I do have a podcast, and you can access it on Apple and Spotify. If you just put in Money Mechanics Podcast on Apple Podcasts, and also on Spotify. In fact, it's on a few others, but I don't remember the names of them. It's on like one of those platforms where it puts it on all of the places. It's called the Money Mechanics Podcast, Sarah Point and Ryan. So you can totally go and get there. The first series is up. There's 12 episodes. I think it's 12 episodes. Might be 13, 12. Pretty sure it's 12. So yes, there is a podcast, and yes, you can go and listen to it. And it's on the platforms. And I had a message today asking me what Stock Savvy is. I think I mentioned it last night, but didn't really explain what it was. So Stock Savvy is our £2 a week subscription where you get a video training each week all about the stock market and how to invest in it and different things. So it's a £2 a week subscription, online subscription, no contract. So if anyone's interested in understanding a bit more about Stock Savvy, drop it in the comments and we can get you a link. But that's not really for now, but just to answer the question that I had today, it's our £2 a week subscription. So tonight we're going to be talking, I'm just ticking all these things off so I don't forget and we'll get mixed up. Tonight we're talking about money mindset. Money mindset. Interesting, right? It's such a big topic, but yet I think, and it impacts so much about what we do and how we treat our money, the way we show up with our money, the relationship we've got with our money. And it really does impact the decisions that we're making as human beings and, in our relationships with other human beings, around money, all of that sort of stuff. It's impacting everything, right? But we don't very often really think about what our money story is. What is it that we're telling ourselves day in, day out about how we are around money, with money? Like I said to you last night, money's neutral. Money doesn't care. Money doesn't care if we're, tall, short, fat, thin, male, female. Like, they don't care. Money doesn't care. Money's neutral. The energy and the emotion and everything that is money in your life has been applied to money by you. Your relationship with money, your feelings around money, the way that you think about money, that is what is creating that perception of money for you in your life. And a lot of that actually is built into us when we're kids. A lot of that is built into us under the age of 7. So a lot of the baggage we carry around as adults, as I'm sure many of us do, in various like aspects of our life, we learned that, we were taught that, you know, we absorbed that before we were 7 years old. So we're just not really aware of it. Now, tell me whether you've heard, just in the comments, I want you to give me a thumbs up or a yes or a something, if you've heard these quotes as you were growing up as a kid. If you want to be rich, simply serve more people. Most people wouldn't have heard that. That's a Robert Kiyosaki quote, right? Robert Kiyosaki is, you know, somebody that really understands money and, you know, really promotes money and actually understands that it's an energy. And the more energy you put to good stuff around money, the more you think about it in a positive light, you know, the more likelihood you are of getting it. Yeah. But lots of people won't have heard that, because actually what you'll probably have heard is things like money is the root of all evil. Tell me whether you heard that growing up. Money is the root of all evil. I bet there'll be a load of you that have heard this. Money doesn't grow on trees. We're not made of money. Yeah? Rich people are greedy. If you want to be rich, you've got to take money from other people. Yeah? Look at these yeses coming in. There's so many of you. This is what we are taught. And what you've got to be super careful of, those of you who are parents, especially if you've got kids under the age of 7, you've got to be careful you're not saying those things in front of them. Because what's actually happened is we've been taught money is the root of all evil. We've been taught, you know, money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are greedy, all of this sort of stuff. And what that's done is carve out our relationship with money into adulthood. So those decisions you're making around money now, that relationship you've got with money now, that feeling day to day that you've got around money and how it sits with you, whether it creates, you know, anxiousness or stress or excitement or confidence or whatever it is, that comes from actually your deep rooted beliefs around money and whether you are deserving of it, whether you are, you know, whether you believe you're good with money, whether you believe that money is something that comes to you, whether you have to work really hard for it. Most of that has been knocked into us as kids because of the things that people said around us. So tonight we're going to be talking about different money mindsets. We're going to talk a little bit about the different types of money mindsets that there are. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the way that we process in our minds from a scientific perspective, like what it is that we do so that you can be a little bit more aware of what and how you are behaving towards money, right? So in your money mindset questionnaires today, what I want you to tell me is what emotions were coming up for you when you were starting to think about your relationship with money, your early memories of money. How would you summarize that for me? What was kind of coming up for you? Was it, you know, excitement? Was it reflective? Like what were you thinking about? What did you learn about yourself today when you really started to think about how your money relationship has been carved out from your history? So for some of you, started to feel a bit sad, you know, a bit anxious, a bit stressed. This is really common, by the way. When we really start to think about our relationship with money, you know, if it was a relationship with another human being, we would probably leave, right? Not everybody's got a good relationship with money. And I'll tell you what, back in 2015, when on the outside, to the outside world, everyone thought I was doing really well because I ran my own business and, you know, I was like keeping up with the Joneses. I was drowning. My relationship with debt then was awful. My relationship with money then was awful. And it was very much, for me, I was very much, oh, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm in debt. We might as well go full bells and whistle. Like, who cares if I'm sticking another £200 on a credit card, because there's no coming back from this for me. And that was my relationship with where I was financially. It's not based in facts. It's not based in truth. It's just where I was, right? And, you know, for some of you, you know, there's a few of you saying in here, we're not made of, the words "we're not made of money" haunts me. You know, you had mixed emotions, disappointed that your parents didn't teach you about money. I think, you know, what we have to remember is that my parents didn't know about this stuff. Their parents didn't know. Their parents didn't know. And it is disappointing that, you know, we didn't get taught this. I really wish, you know, imagine if when I'd have been 18, I left home at 17. And if when I turned 18, I'd have just started to put like £20 a month away, life would look really, really different now. If I'd have put it into an index fund and just let it tick away. But no, I didn't do that. My granddad said to me when I was 17, "Sarah, as soon as you can buy a house, I want you to buy a house." And I said, "Absolutely not. I'm not doing it. I don't want a millstone around my neck. I don't want to be tied down. I don't want any of these things." That was really good advice, and I didn't listen. So, you know, we might not have listened to it if we'd have been taught this stuff when we were teenagers, but we can only be disappointed that we've not been taught about it if they'd have known better. But most of our parents didn't know better, because you don't know what you don't know, right? And because of, you know, the evolution in technology and the way that the internet is now and the access to information, and, you know, people like me trying to spread the word and people like you really making it your mission to learn, that didn't exist for our parents and for their parents and so on. So, you know, we've now got the opportunity to learn about it, which means we can change the trajectory of those generations that will come next. And it's important that we do that, but we can only do that if we really understand where we're coming from. Because if not, we just perpetuate. Is that the word? Perpetuate, that's the word, right? We just perpetuate the cycle. Perpetuate. Now I've said it loads of times, it sounds weird to me. I can't work out. We just continue the cycle is what I'm trying to say, of poor money management, poor money advice, poor money attitude. And I don't mean poor just in not good. I mean poor as in not wealthy. We communicate, we say things, and we say them flippantly, and we don't think about just how impactful the words that we're saying every day are to us and our surroundings, the people around us, but also to the inner workings of our minds, right? So let's talk a little bit about the different money mindsets types. Now, in the book, this is my copy of my book, by the way, so it's very turned down and scribbled upon. They do arrive to you in the post in better condition than this one. This is my own personal copy. And what I want to talk to you about a little bit is in the book, it's in chapter, I think I'd know that, wouldn't you? Gosh, that's terrible. Chapter 3 in the book. So those of you who've got the book, you can flick to that. And chapter 3 is called Money and Memories. And it's about how our childhood, how our past life, not past lives, but how our history is shaping our financial future. And in this, we talk about the different money mindset styles. And there's 10. And I talked about this also in a podcast episode. So if you're more of a podcast, short, snappy, find that episode. If not, it's definitely worth reading this book and finding this out. So there's different types of mindset styles or money mindset types. And it will depend on, you know, what your background is. But I just want to touch on a few of them I think are quite important to be aware of, because I think they're probably the most common. Now, you might actually find, like me, when I wrote the book, I was like, well, I'm a bit of that, and I'm a little bit of that, and none of that, and I'm a little bit of that. So you might find actually a bit of a blend of some of these. But the first one is the scarcity. The first one I want to talk about tonight, anyway, is the scarcity money mindset. So scarcity money mindset is when you feel like you've got to consistently walk on eggshells around money. Like it's always gonna just be that little bit out of reach. It creates loads of stress. You know, it's constantly reminding you that money doesn't grow on trees. So those of you that have said, you know, you've got those words ringing in your ears from when you were younger, you know, scarcity mindset is a mindset of there will never be enough. There isn't actually enough. And usually with scarcity, this is people who grew up in a family where, you know, money was always tight. And you heard it. You know, your parents told you, we can't afford that. You know, it's left this lasting impression on you that money, there will never be enough money and you will never have enough money. And that scarcity mindset will have evolved as an adult. You will have sort of brought that baggage along with you. And, you know, it's not unreasonable to think that a lot of us have got this, because when you look at the stats on this, so over 16 million people in the UK have got less than £100 in savings. Now, that might be you. There might be people on here that have got less than £100 in savings. But, you know, when the stats and the data tells us that people have got less than £100 in their savings accounts, they can't afford £100 emergency. It stands to reason that most of us probably believe that there isn't enough money, because most people haven't got enough money. The thing is, though, that there is an abundant money. There's loads of money. It's just that those people don't have it. It's not that there isn't money out there, because there is, and money's an energy and it's moving around. But when you think that there's never enough, then you're going to consistently receive that from an energy perspective, right? So, you know, when you read the book, there's a whole section. I'm not going to read the book to you. I'd say just order a copy of the book. It talks about the scarcity mindset and actually how to deal with this. And it is actually a process. You've got to learn why you believe that, why you believe there's not enough, and then start to work on how you can start to believe the opposite, right? Now, some of you will have scarcity money mindset, some of you won't. We've then got the abundance money mindset. So typically an abundance money mindset, or somebody with an abundance money mindset, are people that have grown up in surroundings where money is like abundant, the opposite of scarcity. It's like being born into a family where money actually does grow on trees. Like, you can have anything you want, there's enough. You know, you'd consider those people to be like the lucky people, right? Absolutely just abundant. There is always enough. Those people generally will associate that abundance, that having enough money, with security and freedom, right? Whereas scarcity, quite often the relationship with money is trapped, the opposite of security and freedom, unsettled, trapped, worried, right? Now, the thing about having an abundance mindset is that it's much more empowered, it's much more positive in its very essence. And, you know, you feel like you've always got enough and, you know, life is good. But having an abundance mindset doesn't always guarantee financial success. You might think, well, why is that? And that's because you can't out-earn a spending problem. Write that down. You cannot out-earn a spending problem. Now, you can be abundant. There can be loads and loads of money. It can be coming out your ears. But if you spend more than you've got, you'll not actually have enough. Yeah. So when you grow up in an abundant household and your parents have got loads of money, but then you grow up and you get a job and you're fending for yourself and you're paying your own bills and all the things, you have an abundant money mindset. So you spend like it's coming out of your ears, but you've not actually achieved that level of financial wealth. And so what's happening is there's a misalignment. So commonly with people that have got abundant money mindsets, but not necessarily the financial levels yet to you know, stand with that, they end up overspending because you can't out-earn a spending problem. It doesn't matter if you earn £250,000 a year, if you spend £300,000 a year, you're still broke. Yeah. So an abundant money mindset doesn't necessarily automatically create abundance. It's a much more positive and empowered position to be in, but actually it can create the opposite. It can create a problem because you spend like it's like just available to you. And in fact, it isn't always. You've then got the entitled money mindset, which is, you know, where you have grown up in a world where there is money and your success and your self-worth and all that sort of stuff has been pinned to how much money you've got. So in life, you will have got things or been advanced in stuff because you had money. You would have got special treatment, like that sort of thing. And, you know, again, that's not your fault. If you're someone who's grown up in a world like that, you were just growing up. You were just in that environment. But then as an adult, what that can create is that you feel like you're entitled to things, but you haven't necessarily got the money to level up to it. So you feel like you're entitled to that holiday. You feel like you're entitled to drive that BMW. You feel like I'm entitled to those 2 holidays a year because that's what you have, because your self-worth is linked to the fact that you've got money and power and all the things, when in fact what that can create is a financial challenge because you might not necessarily have enough. You've then got the ignorance money mindset. And again, this is a fairly obvious one. It just means you don't know anything. You've never known anything because no one's ever taught you it. And again, that's not your fault. It's no one's fault. Nobody knew. So, it's very rare that you've got parents that knew about financial, like personal finance, and didn't teach their kids. If you know about it, you teach, right? You guys that are learning about this, you're teaching it. You're buying the books. You're putting the podcasts on. You're doing that. So ignorance mindset is really more just, they didn't know, so you didn't learn. The only way to deal with that is to learn, and that's all of you. You're here right now, which is amazing. You've then got like the debt money mindset, and I talk about this a lot in the book because, again, I think that a lot of people at my sort of generation, so like early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, I think that the debt mindset is something that is very, very like prevalent in our generation. I think older as well, but I think that when I speak to clients of mine, either clients that come to our event, stock savvy clients, my one-to-one clients, like any consulting that I do, we talk about debt a lot. We focused on it last night. So many people just say to me, like, debt's just part of life. Actually, debt's not part of life for a lot of people. But the thing is, if you grow up in a house where everybody skydives, you'll probably jump out of a plane at some point, right? If you grow up in a house where everybody snowboards or skis, then you're probably going to snowboard or ski. If you grow up in a house where everybody has credit card debt and lives out of overdrafts and, this lifestyle, that pattern of money, you're going to grow up living out of your overdraft and in that pattern of money. And again, that's just a learned behavior that we can actually change. Like all of these things we can change. If you grew up where debt was totally commonplace, the likelihood is you'll have been in debt at some point, or you'll be exactly the opposite. And you'll be like, I am never putting anything on debt. I'm never taking any risks because actually growing up with debt was shit. What that does again is it restricts you in terms of opportunity because you generally won't take the opportunities when they present it. So it's just something to consider. You've got guilt money mindset. You've got success money mindset. Generosity money mindset is the next one I want to talk about tonight. So generosity money mindset, I think, again, people misunderstand this a little bit. You'd think generosity is great. Yep. Actually, we give away as much as we possibly can. If you grew up in a household where, giving was really highly valued and, you learn that you making a positive impact in the world by giving away your money was how to create self-worth and value in community, then as you get older, you'll continue to give away money. You'll continue to lend it to friends, even though you haven't really got enough for yourself. You'll give to charity, even though you're struggling yourself. You'll give, you'll lend, you'll say yes, you'll have no boundaries around people asking you for money because you've linked your self-worth and your contribution to society to how much you can give away. But what happens is you grew up in a house where actually probably they could afford it, so they were giving it away. But the pattern's not changed, but your financial position has. So you might not have enough to keep giving away. And again, I've lent money to friends and never got it back. Most of you at some point, I'm sure, have lent money to friends and not got it back. It happens. But that lack of boundary to protect ourselves financially, but to still say yes to other people, is going to be causing you problems in your life. So you've got to understand whether you are, whether that is something that you're doing. Is that sabotaging your financial health? It may well be. You've then got control money mindset. And, this is where money's been weaponized against you or your parents or your caregivers or whoever. Like you grew up in a house where money was weaponized, or maybe you've been in a relationship historically in your life where money's been weaponized, and maybe you were maybe you were at home raising children while your partner was earning the money, and actually that was then weaponized against you, and you weren't, there was no freedom around money. Or maybe you saw that in your parents or something like that. That is probably going to develop into a control money mindset, because either you'll follow the same pattern and you will weaponize money, or you'll be frightened that money will be weaponized against you and you'll try to control it all. In both regards, both of them are not very healthy and positive money mindsets, because they're both going to be restricting you in terms of the decisions you make, the behaviors the way you show up with money. Yeah. You've then got the risk averse money mindset, which is the last one I want to talk about tonight. The risk averse money mindset is going to be a problem, especially if you guys want to invest. And ultimately, we're here tonight, we're here this week, talk about 4 core pillars: stabilizing income, recovering from debt, preparing to invest, and investing confidently. If you are somebody who's got a risk adverse money mindset, this is going to get in the way. If you've ever heard yourself say, oh, do you know what? I just prefer to keep my money in the bank where I can see it, where it's safer. You've probably got a bit of risk aversity in there. This is a typical narrative of somebody who has grown up where financial stability was highly valued, and you've learned to associate money with security, and you view taking risks with money as a threat to that stability, right? And when a threat to your stability and security happens as an adult, we tend to move away from it, right? So a risk-averse mindset is going to feel uncomfortable when you're talking about investments specifically, and also entrepreneurship in general, right? So like, people with risk-averse mindsets don't very often start businesses or invest their money into, unpredictable things. So if you're risk averse, you're probably not doing crypto, for example, or you're not investing in something that you've not done loads of research on. You're really detailed. The problem with that, if you're risk averse, is you're going to be missing out on opportunity. Yeah, because you'll look at something, you'll be like, oh no, it's too big a risk. But in fact, if you did the research and understood how to analyze it, how to assess it, you could make an educated decision to get involved in a way that wasn't as risky as what you first imagined. But that risk averse mindset will stop you and shut you down. So today's questionnaire is to really just help you to discover which of these that you are. And I'll be really interested, those of you who are on, have you established which mindset you think you are? Now I've kind of been through a few of them. Is there any that are resonating with you? Do you think you're more one or another? Is there anything you think, oh, bloody hell, that sounds just like me, actually? Is there anything that's kind of triggering that light bulb to say, yes, I kind of get it. I understand. Which one are you? What do you think? Just stick it in the comments for me. A little swig of my water. So there's a few of you that are mixed. Makes sense. I'm definitely mixed. I think I'm probably a mix of 3. And it also depends on, to be honest, the people that I'm around a little bit and my mood and stuff like that. Some months I'm like, let's go all in. I feel motivated. Let's do it. Let's take the risk. And other months I'm like, oh, fucking hell, I'm a bit nervous about this. Actually your emotions and how you feel generally in your life can impact this to a certain degree. And I also think the people that you are around will also impact this. If you're surrounded by people in your life, your circle, who are that historic influence that we've had, and you still spend most of your time with those people and they're still saying the same things, money doesn't grow on trees, money's the root of all evil, blah, 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 you're going to still, to a certain degree, be having that narrative in the back of your mind every time you try and make a decision about anything. Whereas if you're somebody who's moved away from that influence and you've moved into a space where people talk about money in an abundant way all of the time, we're talking like we're talking tonight, you hang out with people like me, my business partner, we talk about money in a really positive way. And if you're in that space and you've moved across, then your mindset will have shifted and you might be a mix of a different set. I also think it's important to understand that it doesn't matter how much money you've got, there'll always be a level of, you need to unlock the next level. I think, what is it they say? New level, new devil, right? And all through my last decade, every time I've hit a new milestone in terms of my financial position, I've needed to do some work on my mindset. I was a millionaire for 2 years before I ever said the word out loud. My net worth was over £1 million. if I sold all of my assets and I paid off all of my liabilities, I'd have been left with over £1 million. And I was so icky about it, I never said it. I never said it out loud. And it wasn't because I wasn't proud of it, because I was, and I am. It wasn't because I didn't want to like gloat or anything like that, because it's not really, I don't really see the word millionaire as important. I don't connect with the word. My ambition was never, I want to be a millionaire. That was never a goal of mine. It wasn't. It was just a consequence of doing the things that I wanted to do. And, you know, yes, I am that, but it's not who I am, right? And what we also need to remember around our mindsets is we have to learn how to connect with the things that we're achieving, right? And that can be hard. You've got to unlock the next layer. And still now, you know, I'm talking all of the time with bigger numbers, bigger numbers, bigger numbers. You know, I'm looking at putting an offer in on a business. At the moment, we're working on the lending today. We've been working on it today. And it'll be a £1.2 million loan for me to buy a company. I remember the first time I signed like a £10,000 loan and I was shitting my pants. Now I'm like, well, I've got all of the loans that I've already got because I run a property business. So I'm quite, you know, there's quite a lot of debt in that business. We've got obviously good debt, leveraged debt that's making money. We're now going to sign another £1.2 million loan to go and buy this business. And we're looking at buying a house at the moment in the Lake District. And, you know, this is all debt that we're signing. Now, if 2015 me had been presented with all of this debt, I'd have shit my pants because my relationship with debt was not good. I thought that debt was a bad thing. I honestly thought that I would drown in debt forever. I honestly thought I would never get in control of it because I just hadn't seen the solution, right? Whereas now I'm like, great, more debt. That means more opportunity. But even me with this, I'm like, right, we need to do a little bit of work. I can feel it. I can feel the physical ickiness of this next level. Every time you go to a next level, you'll start to feel a physiological movement to be like, okay, I'm uncomfortable here. And when you feel that, okay, I'm uncomfortable here, you've got to stop and you've got to figure out what's happening. Because if you don't start to recognize that pattern, your patterns around money will never change. Yeah, it's important that you do that. So first of all, we need to understand what our mindset is. Then when we know what it is, we can recognize when it's coming into play. And then we can say, right, no, actually, that's not true. I just need to do some work on overcoming this mindset issue that I've got in my brain. Does that make sense? So a few of you, again, we've got a mixture in here entitled, we've got risk averse, we've got generosity. Okay, cool. Good mix. We love this. Okay. So what I want to just explain to you is we're going to talk a little bit about meta models of NLP, which I don't know if any of you guys know this, but this is a really good way of learning to really recognize how we are treating the relationship that we've got with money, right? So the meta models of NLP applies to the way that we as human beings process information. So there's like billions of pieces of information that are flying at us at any one time, right? There's smells, there's colors, there's people, there's environment, you know, there's orchids, there's wood, there's all the different colors you guys are seeing. There's the color of my scarf, my jewelry, my nails, all the different things. And also in your buildings right now where you're sitting, you've got your desk, your pens, your phones, the smells, the air fresheners you've got. There's all these different pieces of information that are being bombarded into our brain. I can't remember exactly the number of pieces of information that I think we process every second, but it's like a lot. Now, in order for the brain to process all of that chaos, there are three things that the brain does, right? We generalize, we distort, and we delete. Now, what we're going to talk about is how we generalize, distort, and delete specifically when it comes to money. And what I want you to get into the habit of is really starting to recognize when you're saying things, hold on, that's a bit of a generalization. Let me reframe that. Let me think about how I'm going to talk to myself, talk to other people around money so that my relationship with money can improve, right? So let's talk about generalization first of all. So this is all about you becoming more conscious and more aware of what it is that you're saying, how you're showing up, and how you're behaving with money. So how many of you have said, I'm no good with money? How many of you have like said that sentence? I bet there's a few of you. Just put it in the comments if you've ever said that or thought that, oh, I'm no good with money. Yeah, the load of you coming through. Exactly that. How many of you have said, oh, investing is not for me. You need loads of money to start with that. Oh, I'm not ready to start with that because you need loads of money for that. Yeah. How many of you said, oh, I'm not going to invest. It's too risky. Actually, property is too difficult to get into. All tenants are a pain in the arse, so I'm not going to invest in property. The stock market's really risky. I'll lose all my money. Yeah. How many of you have heard people around you say, oh, you'll have like partners, you'll be wanting to invest, and they'll say, oh, it's just too risky that. Yeah. These are generalizations. Debt is just part of everyday life. That's just how it is. Yeah. These are generalizations. They're not facts. It's not true. It's not true that you're no good with money. That's not a fact. You might not understand it. You might need to learn something about it. You might need to adjust the way you behave with it, but it's not a fact. You don't need loads of money to get started in the stock market. That's not a fact. That's something that you've heard people say. It's not a fact. The stock market isn't too risky because define risky. Based on what? Based on who? Based on whose opinion? Yeah. What we've got to do is we've got to learn to reframe this. Okay. So when we hear ourselves saying things like, and I want you to pick up on this as you're going through like tonight, tomorrow, as you're writing your notes, all the things, I bet some of you have written on your money mindset sheet, I'm no good with money. Yeah. I bet that's in there somewhere for some of you. What I want you to start saying is, instead of I'm no good with money, I want you to say, I can learn to handle money better. Right now, I find money difficult, but I can learn to handle it better. I can learn to manage it better. Yeah. I want you to start to reframe the words that you're saying, like, oh, debt's just part of life. I can learn how to live a life that doesn't have debt. At the moment, it's part of my life. It doesn't have to be part of my life forever. Because that's true. It doesn't have to be. You will have to do something different to change that pattern, but it doesn't have to be part of life. Debt is not just part of life for everybody. That's not fact. Yeah. You have to learn how you will handle that. And what I really want you to get into the habit of is really thinking about and recognizing these patterns. We do this in the office all the time. It's something when we do our retreat in Ibiza, it becomes quite a big trend in the week, is we always challenge. So when someone says, oh, I'm just no good at that, we say, is that true? And this is from my business partner, Emma. She kind of started this on our retreats in 2021, I think it was. She was talking about, this generalization. Is it true that you're no good with money? Is it true that debt's just part of life? Is it true that the markets are volatile? Is it fact? Or is it what you've decided? Is it what you've generalized? Usually it's a generalization, which means we can reframe it and we can actually talk to ourselves in a different way. We can approach conversations in a different way. Yeah. So, you guys will be meeting people for coffee this week at work, and you'll sit down and be like, oh, the market's a mess, and the government this, and the renters' rights bill is going to do this, and the Labour government, oh, it's just a shit show. It's not fact. Now, whether your personal opinion is whether you're Labour or not, that's not for tonight. You might feel like that. It might feel like that, but it's not necessarily fact. It's usually a generalization based on the information that we've been thrown, the chaos, all the points of reference, and we've generalized there. We've got to stop doing that, right? The distortion aspect of what we do. So let me ask you, let's think about how we distort things in our minds. We say things like, I got a pay rise, so I'm going to upgrade my car. Well, hold on. You can upgrade your car, but after tax and pensions and national insurance and interest on the car finance that you're about to get, have you actually got the pay rise that you think you've got? Can you afford to upgrade your car? Or have you distorted based on your own perception of what you want that to be? Sometimes we distort, right? You'll have said things like, or you'll have heard people say things like, it's okay because I'm making the minimum payments on my credit card, so I'm managing my debt. We learned last night that it takes 20 years to pay a £5,000 credit card. Is that managed? Just because you're on minimum payment? Is that well managed? Or could it be managed better? Is it a fact that your debt's under control because you're paying minimum payment? Arguably, no. It's a distortion based on your own perception in that moment. We've got to get better at recognizing whether we're distorting what is in fact the facts to suit our needs in the moment, to suit our story that we're going to tell ourselves, right? Now, we could reframe things to say, like I said to you earlier, I don't want to have a house. It's going to be I said to my granddad, I don't want to have a house. It will just be like a ball ache. Actually, if I'd have reframed that, owning something is real financial security. Owning something outright is real financial security. Then I would have made a different decision. I would have shown up differently. I would have behaved differently around money and the way I spent it, the way I used it, the way I invested it, all those things. Because I wouldn't have distorted, if I hadn't distorted, this is going to be a really bad thing, based on my own perception. If I'd have looked at the facts in a very educated way and the numbers, and someone had shown me what compound interest could do over the next 30 years of my life, I think I would have made different decisions. But because I distorted it based on my own perception of what it meant at the time, it impacted how I behaved moving forwards. And it continues to impact. Right? It's because actually I can't go back in time, sadly. If you're 18 and watching this, buy a house, invest the money, do the things that I wish I'd done when I was 18. Not that that's investment advice, but do the things because, yeah, I'm sad that I didn't do them. I don't know if any of you are sad as well, but I think probably we're all collectively sad that we didn't do it when we were younger. I say this to the girls in my office all the time. Not that they listen to me, I'm sure, but I do try to tell them. Okay, so that's distortion. I want you to tell me in the comments, what things are you distorting? What are you saying? Similar to, I'm making minimum payments. It's under control. What have you actually taken what is in fact the facts and made it fit your narrative for your life? Is there anything? Do you think that you might be, you don't even need to tell me the thing. If you don't want to publicly tell me what the thing is, that's fine. But do you think you could be distorting what is in fact facts to just meet what you want it to meet in terms of your narrative? Could you be distorting? I think the answer is yes, because we see that most people do this. A few definitely's coming through, a few firm yeses coming through here. And that's okay, by the way, because we all do it. But what's so important is that we start to recognize that we are doing it. And you pull yourself up and you say, well, hold on, is that true? Is that based on fact? Is what I'm telling myself actually correct? Or is it just a bullshit story that I'm telling myself because it's what suits my narrative right now? And then you decide and behave with the money the way that you think is probably a better option. And then we've got deletion, right? So in deleting money, I mean, there's a few different examples of this, but the best ones I can think of in my real world is, when you just don't open the envelopes. You just don't open them, it's not there. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to distort it or generalize it because it's not a thing. I don't know if any of you have ever hidden envelopes in a drawer or just chucked them straight away or, just not opened them. I definitely have done this. Brown envelopes were my absolute hatred when I really didn't have any money. Every time I got a brown envelope, it's always when you've got no money or you're struggling cash flow wise that actually everyone wants the piece of you. It feels like that, right? That's a generalization, right? That, by the way, I just did it then, but I'm aware I've done it because I recognize the patterns. Sometimes we feel like that's how it is. When things are not great money wise, everything goes wrong. That's how we feel, right? So I remember back then, brown envelopes was my killer. If I got a brown envelope, I'd literally panic. It go like there'd be a physiological fuck, like, oh fuck, because it was always a bill. It was never a check from HMRC telling me that they owed me money ever. It was always a bill. It was always someone wanting money from me. As I evolved, as I got like more experienced in business and things, you know, I started to have bigger businesses and whatever. Now I still don't like brown envelopes, but now sometimes they have checks in from HMRC. I'm like, oh, these guys actually give you back money if they've took it from you incorrectly. Rarely, but it happens. So I still have this weird feeling towards brown envelopes, but actually it's not so bad because now I have a better relationship with money. So money treats me better, actually. Is there anything in your life that you're doing that is deletion? Like, are you checking your bank balance? Or are you just thinking, I just won't look, and then I don't have to think about it. And if I don't think about it, it's not real. And then actually it's fine. But then you wake up 5 years later and you've not moved forwards because you haven't checked your bank account. You haven't opened the drawer. Or if you open the drawer, it'll go everywhere, right? I get it. It's hard. We have to, like yesterday, we talked about yesterday, we have to do that snapshot. We have to rip off the plaster, because if we don't know where we are, we can't move forwards, right? Sometimes it is easier to just think that it'll be fine. But in reality, we know that unless you proactively attack something to change, nothing will change. We all know this. You know, we know this in real life, in anything. If you want to change something, but you do nothing different, then you're going to get not different results. So it's important that we do that. So a lot of this links back to the 4 pillars, right? So stabilizing income, recovering from debt, preparing to invest, and investing. And again, we're going to, over the course of this week, we cover all 4 of these pillars. But what I need you to understand is if your mindset isn't in the game this week, if your brain is telling you that this is just madness and, you know, investing is too risky and, you know, there's all of these generalizations happening, by the time we get to the end of the week where you're equipped and you've got all of the tools that you need to be able to make your first investment by the end of this week, you won't do it because you're in a narrative. Your mindset will talk you out of it. So we've got to learn to listen to the words, decide whether it's a generalization, a distortion, deletion, or decide whether it's factual. And we've got to learn to be able to make decisions based on that educated base rather than what our historic, what we learned before we were 7 years old version of us is telling us to do. Yeah. So any questions on that? Because I've got a couple of things I want to just finish off with. Again, I don't want to keep you for much longer than an hour tonight because these days are long and you're working on hard stuff. And I know a lot of you want to get the task finished as well. But is there any questions on any of that I can answer for you while we're just finishing off that section? Definitely a good step you took just 30 years later than you should. I get it, right? I started investing in 2015 and I was 30 then. No, how old am I now? Oh my God, I'm 42 this year. I was 32 then. That's horrendous. Oh, it's not horrendous. Generalization, not true. It's just I feel old. I was 32 when I started to actually invest. I was 34 when I became debt free, and I was 35 when I started to actually buy assets. And I was 38 when I became a millionaire. And that journey, that route to get to, my phone's ringing randomly. My husband's ringing me. He knows I'm on a live, so that's weird. The risks I took, the steps I took, all of that sort of stuff, I've learned along the way that you need to treat things differently. You have to accept that what we know up to this point isn't going to get us to the next point. So it is always a good step that you take. Whatever step you take is a good step to take. Doing nothing is the only thing that is not worth doing. But you've got to do something. If you want to see something different, if you're happy, if you're settled and you don't need any change in your life, then happy days. Stick to what you're doing. But if what you want to do is create and activate change, then we've got to start to look at things a little bit differently. We've got to activate change, right? So there's 2 things I want to just talk to you about. One is the way that we manage our money. And we're going to dig into this a little bit more over the course of the week, but I just wanted to kind of plant the seed with you today. I want you to think about this. How are you proactively managing your money? Are you proactively managing your money? So one of the things that I do is I have like a pot system. I read a book called Profit First years ago. It's a really good book for finances in business. And it basically teaches you to pay your profit first and then run the business out of everything else. I do this in my real life, right? And there's a whole chapter about this, automating your money, in the book. If you want the link to the book, we'll put it in the chat. In fact, I can do better than that because we've now got a fancy thing. Here you go. That's the link to order the book. With pots, what it allows you to do is manage your money in an automated way. So what I want you to do tonight is I just want you to think about this, because we're going to talk about it a little bit more over the course of the week. Are you automating your money at all? Some of you won't be, and that's fine. If you're not, that's where you're at. Are you automating your money as well as you think you could, or do you think you could be doing more? And I'm really interested to hear that from you. Again, just drop me a WhatsApp tomorrow. Just let me know. I'm automated, but I could do a bit more. Actually, I'm fully automated. There's nothing more I could do. I got this down. Or what the fuck is automating your money? Like, you just asked me. Let's have a chat about it on WhatsApp. It'd be really helpful to just kind of get an idea of where you're at on this. What I do is I have pots. So I use Monzo. Monzo is my personal, but I've got actually a few banks, but Monzo for my like current account. I like it because it's quick and easy, and the setting up of it was super easy on my phone. I think they're a great bank. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I think they're great for me anyway. So I have money that comes into my current account, and then I have different pots, and those pots then pay. So I've got a pot for my insurances, and all my insurance bills come out of my insurances. If I've got a pot for I've got a pot called my fuck around fund, which is money that's for me to blow on whatever I want to blow. I've got a give to charity pot. So every time I put a certain amount in there every week, and every time I want to sponsor someone to do a marathon, or I want to give something away, or I don't know, I want to book a ticket to a thing that's for a charity of some description, I've got that pot of money there already pre-assigned, budgeted for that activity. I've got a pot for paying like house bills. We've got a pot for like mortgages. There's all the different layers. And what happens is my money comes in. I've got an investment pot as well. That's a very important part of this week. You need an investment pot as well. And we'll talk more about this. So what I want you to think about is what pots would be helpful for you to have in your world if you haven't got them already. Just like I've just said, a charity one, an investment one, a savings one if you want to be saving, an emergency fund one, a insurances one, a mortgages one. Like what do you need to have? What are the categories of money that you've got? Because what we really want to do is to get you to a confidence level where you're setting these up as soon as possible, because they're a big part of the money mechanics method. And you know, an emergency fund, we're going to talk about that much more tomorrow and the next day. But for tonight's homework, really, I want you to finish your mindset questionnaire, get to grips with what you believe to be your like leading money mindset. And if you haven't necessarily got a label for it, just be able to like summarize it. I think actually I feel good about money, or I feel, nervous or anxious or stressed, or, just get a feel for it. And finish this, and then I want you to just think about the money automation that's in your world. Are you doing it? Are you not doing it? Are you doing it well? Do you think you could be doing it better? And we'll talk about this over the course of the week. So I'm going to come back through and answer any questions that we've got. I'm just going to check my little list that I've actually covered everything I wanted to cover tonight. I think I have. Yep, we've done this. We've done this. We've done profit first. We've done risk. We've done self-sabotage. We haven't really talked a lot about that. But ultimately, if you don't believe that you are deserving of money because your self-worth is linked to a historic story that you were convinced about before you were 7, then you will consistently self-sabotage. When you get to a certain financial level, you will think to yourself, or you'll subconsciously do everything possible to sabotage it and go back down again. So if you're somebody who feels like you're in this cycle of, I do all right and then it goes to shit, and then I do all right again and then it goes to shit, and I do all right again and then it goes to shit, it's possible that your money mindset is sabotaging you when you get to this level. And you can do the work to figure that out. So that, like I said earlier, new level, new devil. Every time you get to here, we need to not do this. We need to go up to the next thing. Understanding this stuff at this level is really, really important. And the mindset stuff's going to help you to get out of this cycle of sabotage and of confusion and make you feel super confident around your money. We've done deletion, we've done distortion, we've done generalization, we're done. Happy days. All the list is done. So let me just come back to any questions that we've got. So a few of you are asking me about WhatsApp. I'm sorry about WhatsApp. It's not really, for some reason, the account is not playing ball. If for any reason you haven't had a link from me by about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, first of all, you'll get an email, definitely. So check your emails, whatever email address you signed up for. That comes out at what, like 10 to 7? Quarter to 7, you'll get an email in the morning with the link for the task and the link for tomorrow night's start, resources and everything. You should get a WhatsApp around the same time. But if you don't, and for whatever reason your emails are not working, I mean, you can get a hold of me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm at the office. You can talk to me. You can WhatsApp. You should have had our WhatsApp from me at some point. But if you haven't got it, just WhatsApp me and I can just send you the link directly because I don't want anyone to miss out. Make sure that you've got it. So tomorrow's a big day. There's a lot, a lot of thinking to be happening, but I'm here to help. So make sure you're asking me in the WhatsApp. Make sure you're hitting that button. I'm stuck. Talk to me. If you're finished it and you're doing well and happy days, well done you. We love that. But what I want you to understand is, this week is a tough week. Yeah, tomorrow we hit the halfway point and then it's all easy sailing from there. It's a tough week. It's asking you to think about deep stuff. It's asking you to think about money, which is such an emotive topic. It might, to a certain degree, make you think, oh, this is just too much for me. I'm going to quit. Don't do that. We've got to stick it out to the end of the week together, right? We've got to get to the end of the week because it's only when you've been through the 5 pieces of the jigsaw puzzle does the jigsaw puzzle make sense. You can't just do Monday and Tuesday and then not show up for the rest of the week and expect change. We've got to do all of the pieces, right? I'm here to support. You've got 100% of my attention. I want to make sure that you're doing this and you're doing the work and you're developing your knowledge and ultimately finishing the week feeling confident enough to start investing in the markets, right? So I'm going to leave it at that. We're just a couple of minutes over, but almost an hour. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Is there any questions before I go? Let's just have a quick look. Let's have a quick look. The VIP, if you want to upgrade, /bootcamp VIP, really, really important. If you want a VIP, that's going to run out tomorrow morning. Those who want to look into what Stock Savvy is, which is our £2 a week subscription that I talked about earlier on, sarahpoynton.com /Stock Savvy. You can go and check it out, have a look at it. If it's something you fancy getting involved with, there's no contract, so you can join. You'll get a video each week. And yeah, you can stay as long as you want to stay. Actually, most of our clients stay in the long term because it's quite helpful, just short, easy to digest stuff that's sent out on email once a week. So if you want to do that, you can. And yeah, I think we are pretty much covered. I've answered all these questions. Loads of you saying to me, you're self-sabotaging. This is such a common thing, but it's fixable, right? So don't worry. Do the task today. Really think about what I've asked you to think about, and you will see me tomorrow. Thank you for hanging out with me. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. I will catch you guys tomorrow morning on WhatsApp. If you don't get WhatsApp from me, send me a WhatsApp and I'll be able to resend it. I'm not sure why it's doing what it's doing, but we move. Have a great night. See you later. Bye.